Knitting can be an expensive hobby, so I'm going to show you my favorite way to get free or cheap yarn. There are two things that you'll need: just a pair of scissors and an old sweater. I also highly recommend getting a yarn winder, but you can also do this step by hand. Once you find a sweater with yarn that you like, you're going to go ahead and turn it inside out and take a look at the seams. Once you found the seam of the sweater, you have to make sure that it is a fully fashioned sweater. To do this, you can usually pull apart the two seams to find the linking chain. Here's another example on a thinner yarn. You can pull apart this seam and see that chain in between. If a garment has a serged edge like this, the yarn cannot be used. So after you have found a sweater that has fully fashioned seams, you will start to tear apart those seams. The collar often, for me, is the hardest part to take out, but you can see that the stitches look a little bit different here. That is where you're going to want to cut. Once you've made that first snip, the yarn should be able to easily pull out one direction or the other. So for this one, if I can pull this piece here, you can see that it will smoothly come undone. If I try pulling the yarn through from the other side, it won't work. It'll just get stuck. So this is a good indicator that I'm going the right way. Starting with the collar usually opens up the other ends of the seam so you can fully take apart. When tags are sewn across the top, it can make it a little tough to unravel the yarn. So I like to preemptively take these out before starting on unraveling this piece. After you take the collar off, the next easiest one, in my opinion, is going to be to do the sleeves. First, work around the armhole. Once you have the armhole undone from the sleeve, you can usually snip at the cuff to pull out the underarm seam. If it's your first time trying to do this, I highly recommend finding a cotton sweater. I have found cotton to be the easiest fiber to unravel. Once your pattern piece is able to lay flat, you're going to look at the knit structure to determine which side is up. Looking at this knit structure, I can tell that the V's formed this way, so this side is the top of the knit. At the top, you should be able to find another chain stitch to undo, but you can also just cut off this top row if it's hard to find that chain stitch. If you choose to cut off that top row, be sure that you take out all of those yarn scraps so that they don't get in your way. From here, you can work your way to find the end of the yarn. And once it starts smoothly pulling, this is when I take it to my yarn winder. To wind up your yarn, you just will put it through your yarn winder and then start winding. You can just let the yarn naturally feed from the sweater. If it gets caught, I just give it a little tug. This is the yarn I have after unraveling that first sleeve. I like to keep the ribbing because I only have a single bed knit machine, so keeping the ribbing just saves me a little bit of time. This is it after the first wind. I recommend winding your yarn twice just to release some of the tension, especially if you are unraveling it straight from the sweater. This is the yarn after I've wound it up a second time. This is my favorite way to try out new yarns, new colors, new fiber contents that I might not have tried out anyways, and just a super low waste, low stake way to get and use yarn. Please like and subscribe if this was useful, and follow along to see what I make with this yarn.